Poor people fear debt, rich people use it to get richer. It is a fundamental divide in the way we are taught to think about money. While most of us were raised to believe that owing money is a burden that keeps you trapped, the wealthiest individuals on the planet look at a loan as a powerful engine for growth. You see millionaires borrowing millions against their stock portfolios. You see real estate moguls buying entire apartment complexes using almost entirely the bank's money. You see massive corporations taking on billions in debt to expand their operations. The problem isn't debt itself. Debt is neutral. It is just a tool like a hammer. In the hands of someone who doesn't know what they're doing, a hammer can destroy a house. But in the hands of a master builder, it's the tool that creates the structure. The problem is how you use it. By the end of this video, you will know the exact difference between good debt and the bad debt that keeps most people broke. You will understand why the wealthy avoid certain types of debt entirely while aggressively seeking out others. Most of us have been told a massive lie that all debt is bad and you should pay off every penny you owe as fast as possible to be free. This narrative is pushed by people who want you to play it safe, but it is not how wealth is actually built. In reality, wealthy individuals rarely buy everything in cash. In fact, the more money someone has, the more likely they are to be using someone else's money to maintain their lifestyle and grow their empire. This is the core concept of wealth building through debt. To understand this, we have to define the two types of debt. There is consumer debt, which is a wealth-destroying trap, and there is productive debt, which is a wealth-building tool. Consumer debt is when you borrow money to buy things that lose value, like a new car, clothes, or a vacation. Productive debt is when you borrow money to buy an asset that generates more income than the cost of the loan itself. Rental properties, business expansions, and leveraged investments fall into this category. Banks actually want you stuck in bad debt because that is how they make their safest profits off your labor. But when you learn to use debt the way the banks do, the entire game changes. Rich people love debt because of one word: leverage. Leverage is the ability to use other people's money to multiply your own returns. Imagine you want to buy a $500,000 property. Most people think they need to save up $500,000 in cash, which could take decades. But a savvy investor knows they only need a $100,000 down payment. The bank provides the other $400,000. Now, let's say that property goes up in value by 10%. The property is now worth $550,000. If you had paid cash, you would have made a 10% return on your $500,000. But because you used leverage, you made $50,000 on an initial investment of only $100,000. That is a 50% return on your cash. Most people miss this entirely. Rich people prioritize cash flow, liquidity, and control. They use debt because it preserves their own cash, allowing them to buy bigger and more numerous assets simultaneously. Furthermore, in an inflationary environment, the value of debt actually decreases over time. You are paying back the bank with dollars that are worth less than the ones you originally borrowed, effectively getting a discount on your wealth. Despite the power of leverage, most people fall into a dangerous trap because they use debt backward. Instead of using it to buy income, they use it to buy status. This is the cycle of lifestyle inflation. You get a raise, so you go to the dealership and finance a luxury car you can't truly afford. You want to look successful, so you use credit cards to buy designer clothes and high-end electronics. You are borrowing against your future time and energy to pay for things that are worth half as much the moment you walk out of the store. This is negative leverage. You are paying interest on a depreciating asset. Think about the buy now, pay later culture or credit card minimum payments. These systems are designed to keep you paying interest for years on a meal or a pair of shoes you forgot about months ago. One type of debt makes you richer while you sleep because the asset pays for the loan. The other type of debt steals your future paycheck before you even earn it. This creates a psychological prison where you have to keep working a job you might hate just to service the interest on things you didn't need in the first place. Now, here is where it gets dangerous. When you don't understand the difference, you become a slave to the lender. To avoid that trap, you need to understand the 4 types of good debt that rich people actually use. Number 4 is education debt, but with a major catch. Wealthy people only view education debt as good if it is tied directly to high-income skills or a specific return on investment. They think about it in terms of ROI. Borrowing $50,000 for a degree that leads to a $40,000 a year job is a bad investment. But borrowing that same amount for a certification or a business skill that jumps your income from $60,000 to $150,000 is a smart use of leverage. Student debt isn't automatically bad, but most people calculate its value emotionally instead of financially. Third, company debt. Loans are used to grow a profitable system. If a business owner knows that every $10,000 spent on marketing creates $50,000 in revenue, they should borrow as much as possible to scale. For goods, equipment, or employing personnel worth more than their wage, they use debt. This is why Apple and Amazon, the world's most profitable corporations, yet owe billions. They can borrow money at low interest and reinvest it in their business for a larger return. Second, property debt. Probably the most typical way normal folks get rich. Mortgages are unique leverage where the bank lends you a lot of money at a low interest rate. Best part, if you buy a rental, the renters repay the loan. You get property appreciation and huge tax breaks while someone else pays off your debt. Rich people rarely pay off low interest mortgages early because they prefer to invest their money in higher return investments. The ultimate rich person's secret is asset-backed debt. Instead of selling stocks or crypto and paying huge capital gains taxes, the wealthy borrow against their investments. A securities-backed line of credit is used. They can access liquidity tax-free. While using low-interest loans to support new ventures or their lifestyle, their assets compound and grow in the market. It allows you to invest while having funds for fresh opportunity. The aha moment comes when people realize they're managing assets and liabilities, not money. However, leverage's concealed danger must be discussed. Debt has two sides. It magnifies gains and losses. Your entire investment is lost if you are leveraged 4-to-1 and your asset value decreases 25%. This is where bogus gurus harm people by encouraging reckless borrowing. Wealthy people obsess over danger. They don't over-leverage enough to sell during a market downturn. They have large emergency reserves, low debt-to-equity ratios, and consistent cash flow to make interest payments even in the worst situation. They constantly monitor variable interest rates and have an exit strategy. Depending on your control, leverage can cook food or burn your house. Beginners should use debt strategically yet cautiously. You need the debt filter framework. Ask yourself 4 questions before borrowing $1. First, will this buy bring me money? Second, will the asset I buy appreciate? Third, will this investment's cash flow cover loan payments and more? Would a wealthy person borrow to buy this? No, to any of these indicates bad debt. Learn high-income skills initially to build cash flow for your moves. Strategize your credit score like a valuable tool. Avoid lifestyle debt at all costs. Avoid financing an unearned lifestyle. Start small with a modest company loan or smart real estate investment, then scale once you learn the game. Realizing debt is neutral is the final mindset transformation. The motivation behind debt influences your financial future. Debt helps wealthy people buy assets, businesses, and cash flow. They buy freedom with it. Debt buys spending, status, and momentary pleasure for most individuals. Buy their own chains with it. Financial success shouldn't be about avoiding debt forever. This protective technique rarely yields wealth. Instead, than utilizing debt to look rich, use it to get rich. Become a leverage master instead of a debt consumer. Consider your own life. What have you bought with debt that you regret? Better yet, how can you use a little leverage today to affect your financial trajectory tomorrow? How people interpret their debt can make the difference between struggling to pay bills and developing an empire. Change your perspective, change your life.